Hi, my name is Clive Chu. I'm the moderator for today's webinar. Warm welcome to today's webinar entitled Leading in the COVID Pandemic in the Hospitality Sector. Now we have participants from 16 countries actually. The number of participants constitute about 30% of them are from all the different countries apart from Singapore. So I should wish a good afternoon to most of you here and good evening to those who are on the different time zone. So thank you for taking time to be with us. Now the COVID-19 pandemic has brought about new norms in almost all industries. With travel restrictions, extensive lockdowns, and widespread adoption of telecommuting, many industries are affected. And yes, the hospitality sector is not spared. The questions for most of us during this pandemic are many, and some could include like how to generate alternative revenue with the limited resources and of course the limiting economic activities, how to reduce costs without impairing further growth initiatives, and how to prioritize, cost cutting activities, what possible opportunities within the organization to build human capital, to increase competencies in some strategic areas, etc. So a number of companies, tend to choose a more direct approach to reduce costs that could compromise future growth. For example, reducing headcounts. Now, so today we want to hear from our special speaker, his thoughts, and learn also from the Q&A session. I think the Q&A session will provide depth actually into our discussion. So I encourage you to participate in the Q&A. There is a Q&A tab right on your screen, below your screen, and so you can just click on it and type in your question. Now, our special speaker is Mr. Choe Peng Sum. He's the CEO of Pan Pacific Hotels Group. He oversees nearly 50 properties across 29 cities in Asia Pac, Europe, and North America. Mr. Choe is well known for being an exemplary leader. We are honored and privileged to have him to share his insights and on what it means to lead a large organization in time like this. Now, we will have slightly more than an hour for this webinar. So our simple agenda would be, first of all, for Mr. Choe to give us a talk, and that will be followed very quickly by a Q&A in a fireside chat kind of a format. So nothing formal, and with that, we'll then conclude. So as mentioned, please feel free, to put forth your question. Now I have to kind of like look through the questions and screen through, and before I will say the question over the mic to for Mr. Choe to address. And so as far as possible, we try to address all these questions, but there may be instances where we can't. I just have to apologize. So without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Choe. And so Mr. Choe, please.
Hi everyone. Thanks for this opportunity to share a little bit of, I guess, leading a company during a time of pandemic. Let me try to put up my share screen right now. And let's see whether you can see my slide. Yeah. Can you see my slide? Okay. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So like what Dr. Clive had said, the pandemic has really hit a few industries quite badly. As you heard about the K recovery, some industries are really still doing very, very well. I guess like the fintech technology, and of course, Sheng Siong shares and supermarkets have gone all the way up. So I guess that's a good place to be. But on the flip side, aviation, hospitality, travel have been hit very, very badly. So if you permit me, I just want to take maybe, if you permit 20 minutes to just share a little bit, during this time of difficulty, how in a way does hospitality, go through this situation. Maybe a little bit about the Pan Pacific Group in case you've not heard about it. We have three brands. One is the Pan Pacific brand, which is a 5-star branded hotel, and this is a property that is going to be up and coming in London in May 2021. We have close to about 20 new properties coming up in the next year or so, 2021 and 22. So Pan Pacific is one of the brands. Park Royal Collection is another brand that we carry, and this Park Royal Collection, if you know this property at Park Royal Collection Pickering, stands really for iconic design and eco-friendly, sustainable, and also lifestyle. And there's also a Park Royal Collection at Marina Bay coming up, and Park Royal Collection in KL coming up, and many more to come. And of course, Park Royal brand, which we have all over the world as well, in China, in Australia, in America. So with these three brands, we have presence in 31 cities, 52 properties, 15,000 rooms. Asset under management is about $4.3 billion, and we intend to continue to grow. However, we all know the situation. The impact of the COVID-19 is a real serious issue. And when it first happened, we thought, well, we have experience in SARS, and we thought we could just go through it. And SARS had a V-shaped recovery, and if you compare what it is now, COVID has got 54 million cases, 1.3 million deaths. All of us know it. 217 countries. In comparison, SARS had 8,000 cases, 800 deaths, and 26 countries. So it's just, so small compared to what it is here right now. And it's really affecting the whole world. As you know, even if you look at this chart, just a matter of months, you can see, the global real GDP growth has gone right down to minus 4.9, and that's only in June. And if it continues to go further down the road, it's not many countries will be able to, sustain, if it continues to be locked down like this. And even closer home, tourism in Singapore, the tourism receipts has gone down by 39%, 4 billion, just on first quarter. Our visitor arrivals, 43% first quarter, by second quarter, we're down by 90%. So it's quite a drastic situation. And, just in terms of, as you know already, no secret, April 2019, we had about 1.6 million, visitors coming in. It's down to 750. Maybe may improve a little bit, 880, but these kind of numbers cannot sustain a country. So really, with such an impact on the business, and its business, hospitality, aviation, hitting us right in the face, how do we respond to this crisis? And I thought I'll just share a little bit. We might be doing it a bit differently. We might seem to be a bit naive, a bit, fairy tale. But one of the things that we thought, first thing that came to us when it struck us was we have 6,000 staff all over the world. Our first response is really, how do we keep our 6,000 staff? We really, what I think a lot of companies will do is, how do we retrench? How do we save costs? How do we cut? But the hospitality business is it's a very long-term business, and it's a very labor-intensive business. Just if you look at the two major costs of hospitality, it's basically labor and utilities. With that, it forms almost 40 to 45% of our costs. So obviously, to keep a company going, it's not unrealistic for companies to just slash and cut. But we were hoping that we will continue to keep all our 6,000 staff. And the first thing we did was really to do, to come out and communicate that Pan Pacific cares. And to this day, I think we're able to keep majority of our staff all over the world. And we continue to want to communicate that and look after our people, because can you imagine that our staff, I mean, all of us, we have to feed the family, we have to take care of the bills, and so how do we continue with this? We also made it a point to have Pan Pacific cares for our guests. We take it very seriously, and we spend a lot of money. And actually, we partner with Diversey, a US-based chemicals company, to come up with a hospital-grade disinfectant, to clean up, all our hotels. And it's quite scary because, if in a hotel, you don't know who is going in, who is going out, who was a former guest, and how, especially if we don't really take it seriously to clean, to disinfect, anyone can get it. So, one of the things we really want to promise to do is to really look after the guests. All right. And on top of that, we asked our staff, I said, during times of crisis, can we help others? And I tell you, all our staff says, we're going to pitch in, we're going to help. And many of them, they converted, our at that time when we had lockdown, we didn't have any people coming to our restaurant. So we converted our main kitchens into a kitchen that we churn out 20,000 meals just, to help out those in the low income families with their children, and just churn out meals after meals after meals, And I tell you, I think the staff, I was so encouraged, they do it with joy, and they felt so good that they could help out even in times of crisis, and at the same time, we were so thankful to the healthcare, the front line. They're the ones who actually are right in front, pitching and helping the situation. It was not easy. And so together with our whole team, we said, how can we help the community? How can we? And with brilliant idea, everyone came up and said, Mr. Choe, let's go for, let's let them enjoy themselves, have a complimentary stay. And we came up with this hero program. And it's been fully subscribed. So it's wonderful. It's really wonderful that we can help. In fact, in this Pan Pacific Perth, they were so enthusiastic that they actually, you won't believe it, they went out into the streets and they actually invited, the homeless people, and they brought them into Pan Pacific Perth. I think really it blew the mind of everyone. And I remember the GM, when they checked in the homeless, one of them came to the GM and says, it's the first time that I've been treated like a human being. And the GM met them at the lobby, brought them, checked them in as like VIPs. But we also learned, because with the GM was quite, enthusiastic, gave them sushi, gave them more, and they said, look, can you give me more potatoes, more rice, more, so it was a learning curve, but it was wonderful. They just went all out, when in crisis, really, to look after others. And I thought that was really good. And on top of that, we felt that really it's so important also to not only look after our staff, look after our guests, look after the community, but also to look after the environment. And so while we're facing the crisis, we actually pushed out more of the sustainability initiatives. You know, we put in filtered water. You know, do you know that in hotels, we throw away so many plastic bottles? It's not even funny. And not only drinking plastic bottles, but you know, soap, the bath gel, the shampoo, and all that. There's tons of these plastic bottles, you know, and we change it to the pumps and you know things that we can do to look after the environment. It just brings us to a place where we're not just inward looking, but we're just looking and helping. And I think that also helps our whole team, you know, to have things in perspective, that while we're in crisis, while we're having difficulty, there are also others also who need help. And there are things that we can do to look after, like the environment. And so that's what we focus on. But at the end of the day also, we had to focus on the hard issues, all right? And so we formed what I call a war room team. And literally, why war room is literally like we're going to war. And we formed this war room team and put the best people in this war room team, you know, the performance team, the revenue team, the HR, the payroll, everyone that was, you know, to form this war room team. They look at the numbers. Every morning, I have on my handphone all the performance of all the properties. We look at all the cash flows, you know, and cash flow is so important. A company can be killed just because of cash flow. I mean, we all understand, right? Even Robinson, such a big name, a big time, 132 years, I understand, I hope I got it right, of history can just die off, you know, if they don't have cash flow. And so we form this team. Every day they look at the numbers, all right? And they focus, and any property that is under problem, we will know firsthand. And so they focus on revenue preservation. They look at which countries, you know, has big enough domestic market. What do they do? Example, China. China was the first to lock down, but at the same time, they were first to come up because they got big domestic market. Australia too was supposed to have a big domestic market. 82% of the business that we have in, you know, actually comes from interstate travel. But of course, when there's lockdown, it's very, very tough. So we look at all the different ways. Singapore has a very small domestic market, but when there's no international travel, what do we do? And so with the first few, the staff came out and says, look, Mr. We really need to get the stay home notice, the isolation business. You know, even the staff are the ones coming up with new ideas. And they said, we have to get them because Singapore is just too small, no international travel, we need to get them. And it's not easy. I tell you, when we first took in the SHN, you know, and when the ambulance came, because a few of them were tested positive, you could see the face of the staff, they're all white because it's dangerous, you know, but they're the ones who say, look, if we don't do it, we don't have business, we don't have money, we gotta do it. And I'm so proud. I'm so proud because it's not like, you know, we have to force anyone. They're thinking of how to keep the company, how to, you know, and same thing with Australia. They came up and says, look, we need to bring in, they don't call it SHN, they call it isolation business, but they also understood the situation. Through the war room, we can actually see what's the next few quarters, what's coming, what's not. We look at even the credit lines, the leveraging, you know, are we going to break any kind of covenants, banking covenants? We establish, you know, credit lines to make sure that the cash flow is there, and all other revenue generation. In fact, you know, the whole F&B, we'll talk about later about using technology. It's amazing that, you know, when we concentrate on cash flow and getting it afloat, the new ideas from 6,000 people thinking. You don't just have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 20 people thinking. You got 6,000 people thinking how to keep the company afloat. And I think that's wonderful. Of course, cost containment. Sometimes you need to take a very hard step. Example is, you know, when China first hit, I knew after Chinese New Year, you know, when China is locked down, there's absolutely nobody moves, you know, so the revenue just plummeted. I remember just calling the team and says, look, we got to take some drastic action, you know, we got to cut on go to minimum wage and you know, we got to survive this through. And I remember the whole team, they were saying, Mr. Choe, no problem at all, no problem. As long as we're part of the family, we'll go with this. And true enough, I tell you, I'm so proud of them. After 2.5 months, China just came back so strong. Now we're about 70, 80% occupancy, and we're able to reinstate all their salaries. And I tell you, I'm so proud of them, but not without knowing the exact cash flow of all our 52 properties, all the 31 countries, cities, what is happening at the pulse. The war room would know the whole situation and cash flow, and we can make decisions based on that. And that's important to run a business. You know, of course, with all the ideas flowing up from the staff, you know, we got, our restaurants never had delivery, but immediately we went on delivery, and many, you know, went on other sources of platform, you know, besides the Food Panda and Grab Food and all, we went to Oodle. And so a lot of thinking process from everyone. You know, it comes a time when if you got 6,000 people who own the business, that's where success comes, because they are the ones thinking, how do I earn the money for the company? You know, we have Easy Meet, where we have virtual meetings, hybrid meetings. We have a group meeting together, but you got other people in their various virtual meetings, and we send the food all the way, and so they can meet and have the food together and have all the materials. Virtual wedding shows. We sign up so many weddings on the virtual wedding, things that we have done differently. Technology, can you imagine also, we use, example, we have a very old-fashioned way in hotel where we have linen supervisors and a whole big linen team to sort dirty linen, you know, towels, pillowcase, sheets, and all that, but they're all very dirty after it's being used, but they have to sort it out so that, you know, it goes in the rack basket and all. We spend money actually on RFID, you know, putting every sheet, every towel, every one, so that just dump it into the laundry company. It sorts by itself, and we can even tell them, package it with, you know, 20 towels, 5 pillowcases, whatever it is, in one pack, and then we can immediately put up into on the floor. So if we make things easier also for the staff to make sure that, you know, example, we're looking at a deskless check-in, mobile check-in. Why do we even need to have a front desk anymore? So we're going through, you know, all these different ways. You know, example, the ballroom. You know, we have at night when we clean the place, we actually turn on the commercial robots, you know, that vacuums the entire ballroom, you know, because it is just no one. But, you know, we don't need anyone to do that. So different ways of doing things, all right? And on top of that, during a crisis, it's so important to communicate. And all the more we communicate externally what we're doing. You know, we come out, we explain, we share with the, you know, in the press, we share in social media, we share with the team. Look, this is what we do, and, you know, we keep them informed. And we just want to make sure that our business is a very long-term business. It will come back. It will come back, but the last thing we want is just keep quiet. But more importantly is communication internally. Communication internally to our team, to our staff, to our 6,000 people during time of crisis is the most important. I remember during the time when even Myanmar, you know, we have a Pan Pacific Myanmar, and they were doing well. They were serving all the guests, and all of a sudden, they got hit by some of the staff and the guests having COVID. And in Myanmar, it's not 14 days, it's 21 days of isolation. And the poor staff, and the guests, everyone was locked in 21 days, you know. But we have our Park Royal Myanmar, and they came up and says, we'll cook all the food for you, we'll serve you. And so they came and they served everyone at Pan Pacific Myanmar, Yangon, you know, until some of the staff at Park Royal Yangon also got the COVID, and they also got isolated. And then Park Royal Naypyidaw said, okay, now it's our turn. We're going to go and help both Pan Pacific Yangon and Park Royal Yangon until the government stopped, said no traveling. All right, you stop it. And so anyway, you know, during crisis like this, our communication with them is just so frequent. And I tell you, it's important because, you know, all the more, it's the people that makes the difference, you know, and we will ask them what is needed. And you know, we share even with the China team, who was the first to get hit. You know, we share with the US team, you know, that was had to be furloughed because the situation was having several spikes. But communication is absolutely important during crisis, and of course, a very, very strong vision. A vision is nothing more than just a common direction. During times of crisis, during pandemic, they need to know what the company believes in. The worst thing is when you have, a leadership that change. Have you been through leaders that changes their thought process and their minds several times? Today we do this, next day do that, next day do this. And you say, where are we heading? There's no clear vision, no clear direction, and in fact, you don't know, have you heard this situation where, you ask, how's the boss, the weather good or not? Weather bad, better not see him. So it depends on mood, depends on, but if we have a common direction, if we have, a common vision, it's not something that we put on the wall and then we just forget it in beautiful words. It's something that will guide us, all of us, to believe in. And when the company knows that this is a common direction, everyone heads towards it. I tell you, you will have 6,000 people who own the business, and they're always thinking, even housekeepers, I give you an example. Many hotels, housekeepers, when it's low occupancy, yay, I can rest. In many of our housekeepers, they said, low occupancy, oh dear, how do we do things to help the company make more money or reduce money? Can you imagine if the staff are owning the company? It's a different ballgame altogether. And I'm so thankful, for the Pan Pacific Hotels Group team. They really come up many, many different ideas. Everyone is contributing. It's I tell you, joyous. It's really a joyous thing. And of course, when we look at, lastly, look at the hospitality industry, post-pandemic, we cannot do the way we are doing right now. It is very, very layered. It's very, very highly labor intensive. When we come out of this COVID, we got to really do things differently. I'll just give you a very simple example. In a hotel, if you look at the front of the hotel, I won't even go into the back. It's even a myriad, I would call it a brigade, a platoon behind. If you look at the front, you got the security, you got the bellman, you got the doorman, you got the concierge, and then you go further, you have the receptionist, senior receptionist, chief receptionist, reception manager, duty manager, assistant manager, front pharmacy manager. Now, can you imagine if you delayer it and call them all, example, just concierge, and you merge security, bellman, doorman, concierge, and you merge guest relation officers with the receptionist, chief receptionist, and all that. But they are then multitask. Then we upskill them, we train them. Can you imagine the doorman, the security? They'll be given computer training. They'll be given guest service training, and upskill them. And then we pay them more. But it's important to redesign this so that when we come out of the COVID, all right, we will be ready. So we spend a lot of money in times of crisis. Sometimes the two things that get cut very fast: training, marketing. Why? Because you can cut, and maybe short term you don't see any effect, but in long term it's going to create a havoc. So all the more now we need to put a lot of money to reskill, redesign, retrain, but it must be based on a new way of doing work, and that's what I call a job redesign. So basically, it's been very, very busy for us even during this time, but we're thankful. We're thankful because as we look back, we are one of the few companies that have attained cash flow positive. It's amazing. A lot of companies are in the red, but we are positive cash flow, positive EBITDA. It is not possible without the whole team, all the team thinking how to keep the company afloat. And I'm very thankful. And of course, retaining all the associates when we first started out about a year ago. I mean, it's about maybe since March, it's been many months, but we've been thankful. So that's, I just end it there. It's still a little bit of a glimpse of what we've been doing in times of crisis. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, so thank you so much, Mr. Choe, for sharing a lot of insights. Really amazing. So let's get to see. Actually, the two questions that was asked. One of them um, is with regards to whether profit or loss, and whether break even and things like that. So I think you can address it in a way you want it to be, because I think your numbers are all consolidated. Anyway, this is from Hannah.
Yes,
Hannah say that the family are great supporters of Pen Pack Hotels. So very good,
very good.
champion, and patronizing at least once or twice a week. Pre-COVID. That is quite
Mm,
amazing.
mm,
Okay. During phase one, we continued to order delivered food from Hai Tian Lou and so on. Some of the staff informed them that Pan Pacific Hotel in Singapore was a quarantine hotel. So her question is whether you can share if it was a loss or profit or break-even exercise at the end of it.
okay. Yeah, I'll share a little bit. Hannah, the Pan Pacific Hotel has close to 800 rooms. So when the war room team, look at the situation, if you have 800 rooms, it's and international travels not coming through, it's really going to be very difficult to pay salaries. It's going to be difficult to stay afloat. So and from their whole thought process, we decided to then go full strength into SHN, stay home notice. And we're thankful for that because, and we explained to the government, if you take a hotel as SHN, then we can't take anyone else, So they were very, very fair. They said, okay, we'll take the whole hotel. So can you imagine, although we used to get, probably $300 over of average rate, we are getting about 150, half of it, but half of it at 100% every single day, I tell you, I'm not complaining. And it's more than break even, it's helping our situation. In fact, I'm thankful that, a lot of our properties are in the two countries, Singapore, Australia, where they really have been really looking after the tourism business, the hospitality business. They also have a job saver scheme where they pay the salary, 75% of the salary up to a cap. Same with Australia, they've what they call a job keeper scheme. So this all helps. But I must say something about the team. They were really very very creative. So they said, we didn't even come up with it. They said they went to the government and said, look, we are a stay home notice, and when you're a SHN hotel, you cannot even open your restaurants, cannot, because. But they were so creative, and they went to the government and says, look, actually we can check in the SHN guests through through another what I call entrance, right? And the restaurants and the bars and the ballroom are all separated, right? And they managed to convince the government. They all came to check the place. Said, oh yeah, that's true. Huh? Yeah, you don't even need to pass through the thing. Okay, you can open your restaurants. I mean, can you imagine that? It's a brainchild of the staff, And without them thinking, we would say, okay, SHN cannot open, then cannot open. But I tell you, with that, our earnings from the restaurants is fabulous. It's amazing. Now our edge, our so-called a la carte buffet is full, at night, full. Of course, I mean, when you say full, it's because of distancing, it's half what it used to be, but I'm not complaining, it's full. Hai Tian Lo, Kayaki, and now you won't believe it. The high tea at, sorry for this commercial, but I was just trying to explain that the business is good. The high tea at the atrium, I mean, of course, they're full of ladies. I mean, I don't know why, but it's full, all right? So it's through the brainchild. And also, I tell you, delivery. I never know that we delivered almost, there was we're tracking it, over a week, 2,000, what they call burnt chocolate cheesecake. If you've not tried it, just a commercial, you should try. But it's, can you imagine, just on delivery. So the long and short of it is I'm very impressed with the team for thinking through all the different ideas and never saying no. You know, the government say this, but I say, can you, we appeal this, and they show. I tell you, it's amazing.
Mm.
I don't know whether I answered the question.
Yep. Now the next question is actually from Clement. Clement actually asked about how do you manage your deployment of, he put it as a limited manpower. Okay. How do you organize multi-skilled manpower?
Okay. So basically, we also appealed to the government that, during such times, we have 8 hotels, 5 hotels and 3 service suites in Singapore. And normally they do not allow cross, deployment of staff. But again, the team went to seek approval from the government during this difficult time. Some hotels, are doing, for example, our service suite is doing very well, but there are many long stay guests. So the service is not like a restaurant every day. So we can deploy, although full, we can deploy some of the service suite staff to the hotel side, and even some of the admin staff, because we're on a 2 split shift, work from home, work from office, they go down and help, in terms of the screening and stuff like that. So we went to the government and says, can we cross deploy? And they were kind enough, they allowed us to do that. But more than that, I think I mentioned a little bit about that earlier on, that we're also looking at the layering, and that is a lot of training, and again, I must be thankful to the government, because there's this thing called Skills Future, where we send our team for training, and they are, the training is paid for, and on top of that, there is also an absentee payroll. I mean, which country goes to that extent to support? And I'm very thankful. But it's not training for the sake of training. It must be designed so that, example, even for bellmen to merge into security, they need to have security training, fire safety, emergency, the whole training and certification. So, and from security to be a concierge, you need to have computer training, you need the opera training, you need the whole. So it starts with the redesign. Only after the redesign, then you know what is the training needed, And so once we do that, we can then multi-layer, multitask, yeah? But it's not without the training.
Okay. There are a few of them asking about the role that the government played. So apparently they're interested to know, what role did the government play during this difficult time. But I was just thinking also about the selection of hotels also, for stay home. How that happened? Like, is it through a tender, or how the government actually select and approve hotels for this purpose?
Okay, I will answer. It's a multi-layered question. I'll try and answer. I'll try and answer that. Okay. So first of all, how do governments select SHN? I believe, first of all, you have to apply. This says, look, I'm willing to, so-called subject the hotel to be SHN. Now, there are many hotels who didn't want to take. Because I don't blame, because it's not safe. Huh? I mean, there's no guarantee. And in fact, many of the staff said, I don't mind working, but my family don't want me to work. So, I mean, we understand, we understand. So, but if the staff are all in agreement, we approach the government. And in a way, we're thankful with the War Room team and with the knowledge of, tracking the countries and the forward thinking. We were the first to approach the government, says, we want it, And so those who were first to say we want it, they came and they checked the whole, it's very thorough. I must say they're very thorough. Entrance, exit, you cannot have mingling, and it's all controlled. So they go through everywhere to see that it's suitable. You apply. Now there are hotels who don't want it. Now later on, after several months, they found that the bleeding like mad, because no business. I'm serious, no business, no one's coming to Singapore. They finally go back and say, we won. The government said, I'm sorry. Okay, you will wait in line. So slowly, if there is enough, they will start to open. But not everyone is, especially those who said no at first, they might not get it, But so some hotel groups are bleeding, I must say. I'm not going to say who, but quite badly, to the tune of 100 million, 200 million. It's quite a, yeah. What was the other question? How do we get SHN?
No, I think it's about what other roles they play, because I think one thing they mentioned is a skill future.
Yes.
Right, the role that government played to help the hospitality sector. Besides the skills future, is there anything?
Yeah.
That's coming from Yang Lu.
Yeah. So it's okay. Two main governments have been very, very supportive. All right, and one is let's get back to Singapore. Okay, first of all, property tax rebates. All right, so it's property tax rebates very crucial, because we, as a business, we pay big, huge millions in property taxes. All right, job saver scheme. All right, which is very, very important because they pay up salaries up to 4,006 cap. All right, 75%, which is huge. All right. They have the skills future, which we send for training and all, and absentee payroll. It's a lot of help there, and of course the SHN business. All right, and of course now you hear of the voucher, what do you call, Rediscover Singapore vouchers. Government is almost giving money. You spend on staycation because they know. The domestic market is the only one we can turn to. And I'm very glad, even before this, Singapore Rediscover voucher, whatever it is, the staycation market, I think there's a pent up now, not only in restaurants, but the staycation we're full of staycation, especially during the holidays. So I think it's with all this encouragement, and allowing movement and all that, I tell you, big time help. In Australia also, they have they don't call it SHN, they call it isolation, all right, isolation business. And again, we have to apply. And again, they have to check. And not all hotels get it. And some hotels are running zero, especially during lockdown, Melbourne, Sydney, all that, zero. We're getting 100%. So again, you will need to apply. And then they also have JobKeeper scheme. So, but there are some countries, sorry to say, I won't name who is it, they announce big reliefs, huge big reliefs, millions, billions, but it never trickled to the staff. So I don't know where the money go, but so I'm again thankful to those kind of countries where it really filters to the team, to the people. Yeah.
Okay, there's a question here from Francis. He's actually asking about foreign staffs working in your company. Did you send them back home or not? Or do you reskill them, redeploy them?
Yeah. So during the pre-COVID, of course, I'm sorry, not pre-lockdown, what do you call circuit breaker? I think it is. Yeah. The government has allowed staff to go back, especially Malaysians or all that, to go home, right? Unfortunately, during MCO, movement control order, some can't come back. All right, so it's not because we don't want to, they can't move, they can't cross over. And those who are staying in Singapore, they didn't go back. All right, what we did was we actually house them in our hotels. All right, so they get lodging, they can stay because it's not easy. How do you find money to go and rent? Because especially those in Johor, it's easy for them to shuttle in and out. But when there's MCO, you gotta stay. Those who didn't go back, they stay in Singapore. We house them. Those that when they couldn't come back, MCO, and I think it's up to end of the year still, that MCO is being applied. Now, there are also, I must say, some that they finally found, I don't know how, time to come back through some permits, but it also depends whether they get their visa approved. And so that also is another issue which, there are some that, we can apply to the government and they allow when like some chefs that are very skilled, and we say, look, we really need highly skilled staff and please allow them. So we appeal on their behalf. Yeah. But it's a whole myriad of different immigration issues.
Okay, there's this question from Lim Chong Chong. He first thank you for your inspiring sharing. I agree. So now, okay, so this is a more strategic type of question. He said that with the government scaling back on the support, right, relating to like stay home notice, sort of a stay, international travelers are likely to remain low for the time being. So his question is, what is your strategy and plan for 2021? I think maybe you cannot tell them too much, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a very good question because truly, I had a conference call with 38 CEOs of hospitality worldwide, from Americas to Europe, and we were brainstorming on the situation around the world. The 38 of us, we finally came to a conclusion that really international travels probably would only kick off a little bit from third quarter, fourth quarter next year. All right. I mean, there'll be bubbles, green bubbles, whatever you call it, maybe first quarter, second quarter, but it's not going to be massive numbers, but countries cannot survive for such a long time, totally locked down. I think that, I'm thankful Singapore got big reserves, but not all countries got big reserves to hold on like that. And so there will be probably some recovery third and fourth quarter. So the reality is governments also in Singapore cannot keep on doling out, reliefs. So we know that, all right? So a lot of, so take Singapore, for instance, all right? Then if we don't have international travels, who do we go after? Nobody but the domestic, all right? So in this case, it's got to be creative in terms of staycation, all right? We came up with what I call workations, and we came up with Singapore holiday, it's all different ways. In fact, it's a new trend now called the third place, In fact, it's so, when you work at home, it's so boring. So a lot of people actually, they trade up to a club floor, they go to a club floor, very fast Wi-Fi, and you get cocktails, you get drinks the whole day, you got breakfast, you got lunch, you got dinner, you got cocktails, and they trade up. They actually spend money and they are in the club floor throughout the day, but they are open, they're not closed in a room, in their house, whatever it is. And there's a big market there as well. So, and there's vocation, so even discover Singapore, a lot of people don't really know. Example, a lot of people are rediscovering Haji Lane, a lot of people are rediscovering Little India. A lot of people are rediscovering Chinatown, and also the far outskirts of Singapore. So these are things that, we package it together, all right, to have a different Singapore holiday, because you can't travel out anyway. I mean, can you imagine the cruise to nowhere is fully booked? I mean, I think that's really pent up. But on top of that, I believe the restaurant scene, if it goes to phase 3 with 8 people and all that, it's gonna, right now with 5 people, all right, our restaurants are almost, what I call the buffet a la carte, they're packed, right? But because it's 5, even it's packed, it's about 50% because we have to space out and all that. But when every every number counts. You go to 8, you actually increase it by another 20%, you know. And weddings, I tell you, we have so many weddings coming up in December. It's amazing. There's a pent up, and we're doing multiple ballrooms. So although you got you know, spatial, you link it up by streaming and all that, you know. And we got open air, you know, our Park Royal Collection Pickering, our Park Royal Collection Marina Bay. We got open air by the poolside. All the functions that we can do differently. The F&B itself can form 50% of the revenue. So you're right. We cannot totally rely everything on government. It's going to dry up after some time, but the international travels won't come till third, fourth quarter. In the meantime, the first half, we really have to have creative ways to go after domestic market, and it's working. All right, and hopefully there'll be more.
Good. Thank you. And this question is from a person by the name of Ng Ai Lee. I'm trying to understand the question as exactly as possible. Now, basically, her question is about when the hotel, exercise cost containment measures, and this thing might go into something like into a minimum wage kind of a situation. How Pen Pac management keep the staff morale high?
Yeah, again, very, very good question. You know, although the staff said, Mr. No problem, we will bite the bullet. We'll take the, you know, minimum wage. We'll take the cost cut as long as we're, you know, still with the group. First of all, I think we need to be very, you know, what they call, deliver on what we say. You know, what we say a yes must be yes, a no must be a no. So the hope is this: when business comes back, we have to reinstate. And I tell you, trust is a big word. It's a really big word. It's a small word, but it's a big word in terms of meaning. Because the moment the business is good and we are slow in returning the money, that's the trust just goes out the window. And so I tell you, every opportunity we had when the occupancy went up to 80%, 90%, reinstate. And I tell you, it's a joy, because look, people are not afraid of hard work. Seriously. I think a lot of people resign and leave because of their bosses. You know why? Because if there's no sincerity, if there's no truthfulness, if there's no trust, it's very hard to work. And so, you know, I think most important is we must keep to our word, number one. Number two, you know, I mentioned earlier on, and I stated, you know, communication. During the time, it was 2.5 months of tough, minimum wage, tough. We kept calling them, And I think that is also a hope. You know, if head office forgets about them, you know, they're like, well, yeah, we're so far away, then fine, you know. But it's important to know that, hey, we're in this together, all right? And how are you doing? And, you know, so it's important to make sure that the morale is continues to high. In other words, what we want others to do to us, we do to others. You know what I'm saying? You know, if my boss or my boss say, you know, go on huge cost cut, and then there's no window in sight of reinstatement or something, if the business, you know, gets back, you know. Now, another example reminded is remember I mentioned about Yangon. You know, communication is very important, because people have feelings. You know, 21 days you get locked in, your mind goes crazy. Even though it's 5-star hotel, wow, you can't go out. You know, 21 days is like prison. But I tell you, when they're on the Zoom call, when they're on Microsoft Teams and they're talking, they're able to share their feeling, their thought. We understand also how they feel. That is a window to them. And as they pour out, you know, there is also a therapeutic effect, because they can share their feeling. And it's not easy. I tell you, those 21 days they went through, and also they have to do testing, and also they're uncertain. If you're positive, what do you do? They don't immediately go to hospital, but, you know, so they isolate them first, you know. But during that period, you don't know what's happening. So a lot of communication, a lot of care, a lot of trying to understand. We don't have the answers, but I think if there is care, it goes a long way. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Now, this question is from anonymous, so I don't know who. Okay, and basically, I think the person is asking, the participant is asking about budget. In other words, the plan that you have for next year, would it change now at this point in time, or is it going to go ahead as planned?
Yeah, so we had our budget session. It's a very, very funny budget session, right? I mean, who knows the future? So we can only make assumption. Yeah. So previously when we do budgets, you can compare year on year, you can compare month to month, you can compare situation going forward. This time, no. So it's all based on assumption. That's why we meet up with different CEOs from all over the world, so that we're not insular. We're not just thinking like a turtle inside. We're thinking across the board, and that's important to get a knowledge of the situation everywhere in the world. And then with the war room team, with the whole top team, we go through what we think is our assumption. Now, assumption is assumption, but we must base it on assumption, and there's no what I call blame mentality of scapegoating, because at the end of the day, we make it clear this is our assumption. Next year, 2021, nobody knows, but if it doesn't come true according to assumption, I mean, that's it. We're not going to say who on earth did this, sack the burger. What I mean, it has to be based on assumption, and that's all we ask. It's got to be a stretch goal, but based on assumption. And earlier on, I mentioned about what do you call the first half, first quarter, second quarter. We go by quarters, all right, and we plan by assumption. Yeah. Going forward, we're continuing to open hotels. In fact, we continuing to sign up new hotels. We continue to open new hotels. One of the properties we were going to open is Park Royal Collection, Marina Bay, the former Marina Mandarin, which we bought over. And it's during COVID, we decided to fully close it down and fast track on the renovation. And we're glad we did that, because instead of a year's full of renovation, we did it in 6 months, and we're going to open in 1st December. London is continuing to open. Jakarta is on track, with the 3 hotels. KL is on track with the 3 hotels. We're going to continue to open in Melbourne, in Phnom Penh, in Hanoi, in Ho Chi Minh. So I'm really glad, really happy that we can continue to ramp up. Yeah.
Okay, there's a question from Barry. Actually, I would like to add to his question. His question is about whether you will advocate your staff to have some kind of a skill upgrade, academic upgrade, okay, to get them ready, like what you say, when business returns. I would think yes, from what you have said, but I want to add to the question of what sort of academic upgrade, if any, or what kind of a specific skills that you will advocate for your staff.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, all these very good question. I mean, it's when we ran through the whole training program, a lot of the training program available out there are skills based, which is great, which is wonderful, very skills based. And so we went on and started this program called University Pan Pacific, and we work with eHotelier, which is an Australian-based e-learning university, and we also touch base with eCornell, and a lot of these are what I call partial degree courses, partial diploma courses, where at your own time, you can actually and we pay for it, you know. And right now, already close to 1,000 have signed up on all these programs, you know. So at their own time at home, they can actually do the programs, you know. It can be revenue management, yield management, in a finance accounting, but it's not finance accounting, it's finance accounting in hotels, which is applicable, all right? It's feasibility studies, it's technical services development, it's design thinking, it's you know, digital marketing, it's social media. It's amazing what you can gather from e-learning, and it's the best time for that. And it's just amazing. The other day, HR was asking me for more money because everyone's signing up, and you know, and they don't mind. Now, previously it was harder because you work and study is very hard, very hard. I understand, but now maybe with some like split shift and what I call team A work from home, team B work in office, then they swap and all that. There is some split team. There's some opportunity, yeah, to that. But we scale up. We do executive programs, all right, because what we found in the open market right now is a lot of just, okay, again, I squirm, it's not right. Skill base is very important, right? Because without skill base, like chefs and all, you got to know the basic. But once you go through that, you know, you do menu planning, you do cost control. These are very, very important. In computers too, the whole area of computing, even learning sensitivity tables, Excel spreadsheets and all, it's part and parcel. But gearing up to be used for hotels, it's amazing, yeah.
Mm. Okay, what about this question about, you know, certainly we cannot find another Mr. Choe Peng Sum in the industry similar to you. But what if, you know, there's somebody who take a shot at copying what you're doing, right? Reskilling, upskilling, and so on and so forth, right? Do you think there's a good chance that another player in the industry could just be doing well just by copying what you do?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. There's no secret. You know, all I'm sharing is this, just one word, people makes a difference. You know, in our industry, I don't think we can totally replace people with robots or machines, you know. And so can you imagine whoever, I know it's a bit fairy tale, huh? But whoever can nurture, equip, motivate the team that they have, you have a very powerful force. You have people who are thinking for the company. You're not just thinking for the company alone. You know, there are two schools of thought. A leader says, I must know everything. But there's also a thought that says the leader doesn't need to know everything, but he must be surrounded by people who have the breadth and depth of everything. And I'd rather do that. I'd rather have a team that really are looking at all different ways, you know, to protect the company, to earn money. And I tell you, it's powerful. The number of ideas that are coming out, I wish I would say, you know, it all came from me, but it's powerful, all right? And any group, to me, if they put the people, empower them, and nurture, I think, better chance of survival in this pandemic. Better chance, yeah.
Okay, I think we just have about time to do our webinar up to this point. So I just want to first of all thank Mr. Choe, you know, for a really very interesting sharing of the company, of what he has been doing. And I personally actually you know, learned so much from what he has shared. There's no doubt about how important it is to manage actually our people. You know, and that include not just looking at the affairs, you know, about what value they bring actually to the organization, but also to get them to think outside of themselves. I think that is really important, because anyway, if you think of it, after all, it's still a service industry. And to be able to think not a self-centered way, to think about others, and the various initiatives that Mr. Choe has shared are actually really important. Because once they get into this culture, if you would, of thinking outside of themselves, you will see that actually there's creativity.
Yes.
There are various things that actually Mr. Choi has shared that are quite amazing. I mean, they will be more daring to come
Yes.
and share their thoughts.
Yes.
And I want people, I think, you want, these are your resources. You want your people to come
Absolutely.
and tell you. In fact, to be honest, these are the guys that are running the show.
Yes.
They are operational people. They know the inside out of many things.
Yes.
So if we don't tap on them, it's such a pity. So
Very.
actually, Mr. Cho, I think really kudos to you for being able to draw them out, because it's about drawing these people out. And I think, to be fair, probably I would say that the competitors have these same people in terms of the knowledge base,
Yes.
It's not like a super rocket science, but I think they would know it's about drawing out this knowledge that they have, the intrinsic knowledge and things like that. So that's really quite amazing. So I think really appreciate you sharing how you are able to draw these people out, and I think especially at this time when things are like that, right? So it is a good, very good positive culture that actually you have inculcated as well. A
Thank
culture
you.
of trust, a culture of actually being able to have the freedom to express. I think that's really important. The culture of thinking for others.
Yes.
So I really want to thank you so much. So on behalf of Nanyang Business School, okay, I just want to express our gratitude and a profuse thank, for taking time to be with us, sharing with us, and I believe all of us actually have learned so much from you.
Thank
So
you.
thank you once again, and to all the other participants as well. We thank you for tuning in. I know there are a number of you will want to also listening to the recording, and I think what is really important is also to get connected. You see, I think part of this thing is not just about listening to some subject matter experts, but it's also to get connected. And somewhere we'll meet. You will not know. And so thank you so much again. Thank you, and we will end the session, the webinar now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.